Hey there, I am looking over a question from OMG 1992, and it is entitled Abstinent but Horny. Aren't we all? Here's how it reads. My boyfriend and I grew up in a Christian community, and we decided to exchange promise rings. We're not going to have sex until we're married. We're both preparing for college, and neither of us could afford such a big step. We do love each other very much, and I feel like he's the only guy for me. And I want to respect the bond I made with God, but sometimes I can't help but imagine what it would be like to have sex with my boyfriend. We've been fooling around a lot lately, especially since we're both going to separate schools. It's made us so horny for each other. I did give him a blowjob, which he liked. We're remaining as pure as we can, but I don't know for how long. Does a blowjob count as sex? And if it does, how can we remain virginal? You know, this is a really good question. This is actually a dilemma that I had to face because I grew up in a very, very religious household. I've kind of strayed away from that a little bit, but nevertheless, I had to face the same issues whenever I was thinking about having sex. So, for one, the blowjob issue, that's all a matter of how you define sex. Technically, you could look at sex as sexual intercourse or vaginal sex being the only sex possible to be labeled as unholy sex, I suppose. But then again, some people define anything that has the word sex in it as sex. Hand jobs, oral sex, vaginal sex. It's just a matter of how you look at things. And chances are, if you're less horny for one another, you're probably just going to want to look at it as the Big Bang is the only unholy sex. But you get to decide what your definition of it is. In my opinion, sex is all about getting off no matter how you do it. So if someone's going to define, for instance, a hand job the same as vaginal sex, I don't know if that could necessarily work because a hand job is essentially like masturbation. Do people consider masturbation unholy? No. So why would they consider a hand job unholy? But to get to the blowjob specifically, I don't see any harm in it, in all honesty. I don't think that you're going to have too big of an issue with God or with anything else if you have oral sex. But then again, there's a fine line between oral sex and vaginal sex. There's really not too much different other than the interaction of organs. But you don't have to get worried about pregnancy or a whole lot of STDs or anything if you're going through oral sex, just because there's not as much private interaction. Really, you've got to sit there and think about what you're going to do with the rest of your life. If you really think that you're going to marry this person, you're going to be committed and whatnot, and you think that you can have vaginal sex without completely, not being able to forgive yourself, then I say go for it, really. Because marriage is it's just a word. It's just a certificate that you get that bounds you together for life. But if you're already there in your heart, then why does it matter? I think God will understand if you've moved to such a commitment in your relationship that you truly believe that you're going to be with one another for the rest of your life. Don't do something too soon. Don't do something that you're going to regret. But fooling around isn't that big of a deal. Plus, you're probably young. It's normal. Everybody does it. Everybody goes through with it. What happens? They move on with life. So, if you're in love, go have sex. That's my advice.